Come check out the new Sisters Braid 2 Hair Braiding and Natural Hair Care Salon, located at 18070 Mount Elliott Street. Our new salon is spacious with adequate parking, Wi-Fi, and all brand new state-of-the-art salon equipment. Come meet your local hair braiders and natural hair care specialists, and check out our many hair care services, such as hair treatments, box braids, cornrows, tree braids, cabana twists, children's braids, natural twists, lock extensions, kinky twists, goddess locks, updo, full weaves, and more. Please feel free to visit us on the web at www.sistersbraid2.com or call 313-826-0498. Here at Sisters Braid 2, we offer exceptional care for exceptional hair. We look forward to seeing you. Sisters Braid 2 is a proud recipient of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
To make your online time, offerings, donations, gifts to the Son of Man. Through Cash App, make your payment to $New Nation of Islam. That's $New Nation of Islam. Or call 601-786-7056. 601-786-7056.
We would like to invite you to help support the efforts of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Visit the website at www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. That's www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. We often hear how we need to work together to rebuild the city, and we're actually doing it. You can make online donations and click on links to track the progress of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. And for more information, 313-868-0000 is a local number. Again, 313-868-0000. Support the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scripture and not really understanding what you read? And if you're reasonably sure...
Conference recording started. Conference recording started.
In your home, then let's talk with one another. Then let's reason with one another on a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man every Wednesday at 9 p.m., Friday at 9 p.m., and Sunday at 12 noon. On WHPR TV Detroit Live, 88.1 FM WHPR, and Comcast Cable. Why don't you call and discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning? You can call that live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. That's 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. And now, let's go live with a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet you all once again with the greeting words of peace. Those of you who are hungry and thirsty for Allah's righteousness. I greet you all in the universal greeting that we, the Muslims, have greeted one another since the beginning. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. As I've told you repeatedly, there is no better greeting that you can offer to people than to wish them peace. So before we get into tonight's lesson, I want to give those who have found things that they disagree with us about, I want to give them a chance to express that with us, to discuss it with us. So, you in the 601 conference rooms, you can press 5* and the brother will see your hand up and unmute you. In the 717 conference room, you press *6, and the brother, we will recognize you. We don't speak to you on subject matter that we are not willing to have discussion with you on. If I am the teacher and I create a question in the mind of the student, then it is my duty to answer the student's question. That's one of the ways the student is justified to have faith in me and in what I am teaching. You know, it is impossible to maintain faith trust. That's what faith is. It is trust. When we say in God we trust, we are saying in God we have faith. Do you understand? So you cannot. This is one of the things that the devil knew. The devil has always known this. When the devil cannot attack the message that a messenger brings you, he will get busy and try to discredit the messenger. And if he can discredit the messenger, he knows that the person who may have believed the message will doubt the message. And that's how he makes you stumble, you see. So we are wise to the tricks of the enemies of God. The enemies of God are those who are a host to lies. Do you understand? If you are a host, meaning if you welcome into your brain lies, then the liar is welcome among you. And so the truth becomes your enemy, because you made the truth your enemy by being a lover of lies. Now, what is it, son?
Yes, sir. We have two people here. The first one is Mark Wilkes. and he left a comment saying, "Son of man, what do I need to do to be part of the new nation of Islam? I'm from Los Angeles."
Brother Mark, all you got to do is just stay in class and take my number down. My number is 601-786-1332. That's my cell phone. And my landline is, even though it's temporarily out of order here, they keep on having problems. AT&T told us that there's a major something down now. What did he say? Well, a major cable is down. So, but my landline is 601-786-9742. Nobody answers those two phones but me. And when you have, after attending class, and you've decided that if you decide that you want to follow me, then you give me a call and let me know, and then I will tell you what I want you to do. The one thing that I demand of all my followers is that we work. That we can't build a nation without money, and we can't get money without working. So I need all of you all to find you a job. I'll tell you something. Even if it's just a minimum wage job, you'll be surprised how jobs come to you when you got a job. It's just something about having that people can. Who is that? Say what? That's the 717 conference room. Well, I'm gonna disconnect the station then. Just a moment. I don't know what they're doing there, but okay. So so this is what I want you to do. We're still in the conference room, right? All right. So we that's what I want from you right now, is to just know that I have followers in Canada. I have followers on other continents. But this is a big tent here, and our tent goes over 60 miles in the sky, and thanks to these satellites and things, so we are able to talk to our brothers and sisters all over the earth. So don't feel rained on because you're in California. When time comes, we will all be together. But right now, we're all together Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturday, and Sunday. So just shelter in place right now. Now, someone else had a question?
Yes, sir. This is coming from Brother Edward X, and he typed 4 comments here. He starts out by saying, "You say that you are the Son of Man, but you cannot stop Mr. Putin. Mr. Elijah Muhammad is the servant of Master Farad Muhammad, the Son of Man. He never said you are the Son of Man. You make mistakes. Same story as Mr. Yaqub. You wasn't there 266 trillion years ago. You will not use Elijah Muhammad nor Master Farad Muhammad anymore."
Well, I can tell you was never in the nation. You're probably not even 40 years old yet. So I don't have to answer to you no way. As the messenger said, it'd be just like me trying to tell the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that he ain't Master Farad Muhammad's follower. How would I know if he was following him anyway? I wasn't there. You understand? So, you always got people out there that think they got something smart to say. But when he opens his mouth, you see how big a fool he is. Not only that, he practices what you know cowards always practice. They hide themselves. They don't call. It's just like them boys who call themselves overthrowing the Capitol. Half of them had on face masks and all of that kind of stuff. If they thought they was right, they wouldn't have felt they had to hide. Do you understand? If he thought he was right, he wouldn't be typing at me. He'd be in here talking to me. You see? See, and that's what, you remember I showed you that thing with Bruce Lee? And the man in the Enter the Dragon? And the man held the board up there in front of Bruce's face and broke it. And Bruce told him, he said, boards do not punch back. Just that simple. See that paper that he got there, that machine he got there, it don't talk back. So he can say these things and he never get no argument from his typewriter or from his computer there. But when he get on the phone with me, then you can even hear their voice change when they get on the phone. They either is a high pitch because he's nervous and he starts talking fast, or you can hear him trembling when he talks. And that tell you all you need to know about that. Am I trembling? Am I excited? What other teacher do you know of, including the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that when he got into his subject matter, did you ever hear people just arguing back and forth with him while he was in there? Unless he allowed it. He even told him, I ain't got time to argue with you. You remember he told him that? He said, but if you want to argue, he said, we'll always have a place for you to argue. If you want to argue, but I advise you to know what you want to argue about, what you want to talk about. He knew I was coming. You notice I started my meeting off. Who disagrees with me? That's what I ask them everything. And never do they ever unmute the phone. They always got some note they want to write me. Because he's scared of me. And he's right to be scared of me. If he didn't think I was anybody special, he'd come in here and talk crazy. But he's scared I'm going to throw him in hell if he do that. So all he can do is sit up there and peck away at the keys like a mischievous child. Yeah. And he patterns himself after another coward named Donald Trump. That's how he does all his arguing. Pecking away at a tweet. Oh, hateful bird. That's all they can do is put hateful tweets out there. You understand? So, anybody else? Okay. Now, you see, what I'm waiting on, you notice, I teach on the average, during the week, I teach average 3 hours of class. Huh? And you notice the only complaint these folks have against me is who I'm saying I am. Has that dawned on you yet? There ain't nobody came in here and condemned nothing I'm teaching. They keep doing the same thing or saying the same thing in a roundabout way. You ain't the Son of Man. Right? Now, the scripture said, don't no man know who the Son is but the Father. I mean, that's the first thing. So by saying I'm not the Son of Man, is he declared himself to be the Father? That's a good question, ain't it? But so I have, it amazes me how everything that I've read in the scripture, I see it jumping off the page. Who is he that rejects the religion of Abraham, but he who makes a fool of himself? Huh? The fool have said in his heart that there is no God. And since he don't believe the record that God left of me, then how in the world is he going to believe in me? Because he does not believe that the Bible is divine. He don't believe the Holy Quran is divine. How you know that he don't believe him? Because he tries to use his own words to judge me, who I'm telling him that the Bible and the Holy Quran agrees with me. Well, what's the intelligent thing to do? Go into the Bible and the Holy Quran and find where it does not agree with me. Is that right? And let the one that I claim sent me judge me. Huh? Now I'm going to show you. Since ain't nobody really had nothing to say. The messenger said this. He said, we are not trying to overthrow the government, just your ignorance. Those are some deep words, especially now. Like people look at me and think hard of me. Foolish Negroes. Why is he trying to do something to help America? If for no other reason, I live here. That's one good reason. Huh? I mean, if I was on a ship, and I am on the ship, the good ship America, and if it sink, then I would like it not to sink with me on it. So if for no other reason, I live here. I mean, you're pretty dense, man. Do you got someplace else that's better to take us to? Just come on and tell me what place you done found better. Even, let me show you. I like to show you how big a fool people make of themselves. Now, I want you to turn to Romans. And the first chapter. And I want you to read what he said again about me not being able to stop Putin. Go read what he said. Read it. I said, read what he said about me not being able to stop Putin. What you mean, what verse?
He said, you say that you are the Son of Man, but you cannot stop Mr. Putin.
Okay. Now, listen at this now. It says in the 26th verse, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another. Men with men, working that which is unseemly. Working mean doing. And receiving in themselves that recompense, that reward of their error, which was agreeable. That's what meat means. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. So God couldn't stop them. I guess he ain't God, huh? See how a fool thinks? Didn't I warn Putin to stay out of America's affairs? And I told him, don't do what he's doing over there in Ukraine. Now what's happening to him now that he's doing it? The whole world will turn against him. Look, Islam is not a domineering religion. Islam is freedom, justice, and equality, just like you. You know, I'm not here to force you to believe in me, Negro. I offered you the truth. You didn't want it. Well, the messenger said this about people like you. He said, if you're happy not being my follower, I'm happy with you not being my follower. I mean, really, I'm not here to beg you to, convince me. I ain't here to convince you of nothing. If Allah can't convince you, I know I can't. And I already told you, my Allah is the truth. I don't know what you're talking about when you say God, but I'm talking about the truth. And the truth is sufficient for me. Mr. Fool. Now, you see how, if you're going to say that I'm not the Son of Man because I couldn't make Putin stop doing what he do, well, I guess God ain't God, since he couldn't stop the Sodom and Gomorrah, Sodomites from doing what they was doing, and all them people that wound up getting destroyed because they didn't listen to him. Well, what? Huh? No. See how your argument don't make sense? Okay. And you see how when the truth is with you, no one can be against you. If God be for you, if truth is for you, can't nobody be against you. The white man, he been learned that. Why you think he shut his mouth in here? He know that I'm speaking the truth, and he know the truth is with me. Let me show you some more. Now, let's check this. Let's go kind of go through this hearing here and see what we've been listening to.
Of the vice president that day. That a lot of what we learned today from the investigation, from this hearing of the January 6th investigation, was about President Trump and his sort of cohort knowing that this plot targeting the vice president was illegal. That illegality of the plot being intrinsically linked to the expectation of violence on January 6th and violent threats directed toward Mike Pence. And then we got a lot of new detail about the impact of those violent threats toward Mike Pence that day. The impact of President Trump telling his supporters that Mike Pence was the problem, that Trump would be able to stay president if only Pence would throw out the results, and he's the reason that Trump wouldn't be able to stay. It's one thing to have an angry guy screaming at you, calling you names. It's another thing to have an angry mob targeting you. But it is another thing altogether to have an angry mob being directed at you by an angry man who is also the President of the United States. Because in that moment, you have to imagine that you would think, what else could the President of the United States set in motion? What else could he bring to bear to try to get you? Or even to try to remove you from the scene if he wanted to. That was apparently a live issue, a live concern that terrible day, which we learned from this evidence presented today by the investigation.
The Select Committee has obtained never-before-seen photos from the National Archives that show Vice President Pence sheltering in a secure underground location as rioters overwhelmed the Capitol. At 4:19 p.m., Vice President Pence is seen looking at a tweet that the President had just sent a tweet asking the rioters to leave the Capitol. After 4.5 hours spent on working to restore order, the Vice President returned to the Senate floor to continue the certification of electors. So Vice President Pence was a focus of the violent attack. Mr. Jacob, did the Vice President leave the Capitol complex during the attack?
He did not.
Can you please explain why the Vice President refused to leave the Capitol complex?
When we got down to the secure location, Secret Service directed us to get into the cars, which I did, and then I noticed that the Vice President had not. So I got out of the car that I had gotten into, and I understood that the Vice President had refused to get into the car. The head of his Secret Service detail, Tim, had said, "I assure you we're not going to drive out of the building without your permission." And the Vice President had said something to the effect of, "Tim, I know you, I trust you, but you're not the one behind the wheel." And the Vice President did not want to take any chance that the world would see the Vice President of the United States fleeing the United States Capitol. He was determined that we would complete the work that we had set out to do that day, that it was his constitutional duty to see through, and the rioters who had breached the Capitol would not.
Now he's trying to not say what was really on the Vice President's mind, but the Vice President had already said what was on his mind. It didn't have nothing to do with not wanting to be seen leaving the Capitol. The Vice President didn't trust the one who was driving on what the plan was once they got him in that car. They might have been taking him for a ride. Do you understand? I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, he said, "Tim, I trust you, but you're not the one driving." Do that sound like he was worried about the theater of that, or the appearance of that? No, he wasn't worried about no appearance. He can't even hardly keep a straight face saying that. But anyway, because he got a half smile on his face. He sitting up there saying that. I mean, let's tell the truth. See, this is the kind of stuff that makes you understand that I am the Son of Man. The sun's light not only hits you and bounces off of you, the sun's light, some of it goes straight through you. And you heard the whole saying, "I see through you." Just like him. He didn't say what I was saying about him was not true. I saw through what that little smoke screen he's putting up there. Talking about he don't believe I'm the Son of Man. He's actually not even talking to me. He's typing that to other people. Do you understand? You see? So now, it's like people, the longer you stay in my presence, the more you're going to be held accountable for everything that I said. You being judged. Have you heard anyone come in here and prove me wrong about judgments that I have made? Just like him. He ain't called in here yet. Man, if somebody said about me what I said about him, if it wasn't true, I'd call him up. In the first place, I wouldn't have never put myself in a position to even be thought of as a coward. Do you understand? So now, let's
the satisfaction of disrupting the proceedings beyond the day on which they were supposed to be completed.
Let me see if I understand this right. You were told to get in the cars, and how many of the Vice President's staff got in the cars while he did not?
Most of us.
Most of us had gotten in the cars. Then we got out when we realized the boss was not getting in too. They were all ready to go. He was not. Because what's going through Mike Pence's mind in that moment? I mean, can you trust the guy behind the wheel of the limousine to not drive you out of the Capitol against your orders? And sure, maybe that would be done for your safety, but maybe that might be because that guy had orders from somebody higher ranking than the vice president.
As you think over what was going on in the Capitol, the vice president wasn't interested in leaving and going anywhere if he was going to do his job. Do you understand? I mean, take him where? His place was in the Hall of Congress to certify the election. No, you get that stuff under control up there. You ain't taking me for a ride. Especially now that I know the whole picture of what this crazy president. You can't be his friend, and he ain't got no friends. He got flunkies. When you cease to be a flunky, that's it. Do you understand? He's like Meadows. I'm telling you now. You know about Magneto. Magneto say, "Let the pawns go first." And then when he got them all killed, he says, "See, I told you, always send the pawns in first." Yeah. Half of those people that was up there, that was going to get mowed down. Them Trump people. That was, matter of fact, all of them was Trump's people, but half of them was going to be killed. Now, I'll show you what I'm talking about. They don't realize, that's the one thing you learn about if you ever looked at gangster movies. They had a line in there that was always in every gangster movie that you ever saw. When they getting ready to kill somebody. It ain't personal. It's just business. If you thought that he was your personal friend, you didn't understand who you was dealing with. His business is crime. That's his business. Organized crime. Organized ways to get outside of the law. That's why they call them outlaws. Do you understand? You see, organized ways and sophisticated ways to skate around rules that other people abide by that keep them poor. You understand? So what make you think I understand the word of God, but I don't understand your world? Are you that dense? Do you hear anybody saying, "I don't know what I'm talking about"?
Well, sir.
These people use words on you that you ain't never understood the meaning of them until I got up here and started explaining it to you. But anyway, now, as these, and I didn't know it until Allah explained it to me. Do you understand? Allah is with me, guiding me to guide you away from your associate God. So you had better pay attention. So they tell you when they call you, this is our friend, he's a good fella. It's, I mean, you a good fella as long as you do what you told. But the minute Michael Cohen was a good fella until he turned rat. I didn't hear you. He called him a rat. You know why? See, most people don't even understand what rat means. The ship starts sinking, the rats start deserting. Ship. He jump off the ship. He ain't gonna go down with it. No, sir. You know, they say the rats desert the sinking ship. Is that right? You've heard in the Navy, all of the crew, if the ship is about to go down, sometimes the captain will go down with his ship. You understand? But he'll order the rest of the crew to abandon ship. Make like a rat and leave. Huh? Yeah, jump off. Get out of here. So, you know, but Michael Cohen saw where it was going. He saw that, hey, man, this ain't where I was trying to get with. I want to make some money, but I ain't trying to destroy the country. Yeah, I'm out of here. Huh? You know, well, these people, like Mike Meadows, them who took the payoff and all that kind of stuff, you know, once you done took the money, you in for a penny and in for a pound. Do you understand? You know, so, and even that requires more thought than it sounds like. There's an ounce of prevention is the penny. A pound of cure is what's next. You see? So now you jumped on board and you might have thought that it was just gonna be a cakewalk. But you signed on to it. Mike Meadows signed on to it. There's a whole lot of them signed on to it. Jim Jordan signed on to it. They went through the motions of what needed to be done in order to get to a point. Now, what was the point they was trying to get to? You have to remember the testimony. We'll come back to that point in a minute.
Orders that the vice president should be taken away, that he should no longer for his actions. We also got remarkable footage from the committee today of John Eastman's sort of aborted deposition before the committee, in which he took the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times. He took the Fifth in response to so many questions at his deposition that he eventually abbreviated it with just one word. He wouldn't even say, I'm taking the Fifth or Fifth Amendment. He would just over and over again say Fifth, Fifth, Fifth.
I assert my Fifth Amendment right against being compelled to be a witness against myself.
Did the Trump legal team ask you to prepare a memorandum regarding the vice president's role in the counting of electoral votes at the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2020? It had been reelected. Is that statement in this memo true? Good. Did President Trump authorize you to discuss publicly your January 4th, 2021 conversation with him? We will not discuss those same conversations with this committee.
Fifth. Joining us now is a fifth colleague.
You know, the Fifth Amendment says I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that it may tend to incriminate me. The Fifth Amendment says that no person shall be forced to give testimony against themselves. You can't require a person to testify against themselves. You understand? But at the same time, you wouldn't need that if you didn't think you was guilty of something. Do you understand? Now, what you guilty of it may not be what they're talking about, but if they get you to talking, they might find out you guilty of something else. So, do you understand? So you got to. It's one thing to plead the Fifth, but it's another thing. You know, as they say, well, the burden of proof is on you. That's what you're saying with the Fifth Amendment, actually. When you are charged with a crime, the Fifth Amendment gives you a statement without actually saying it. It says that, well, it's not up to me to prove I'm innocent. It's up to you to prove I'm guilty, and I ain't gonna help you. Do you understand? Now, I'm not gonna help you. You're not gonna get me to help you find me guilty. Do you understand? If you got something, you prove it. But anyway, it is amazing to me how even in Satan's world, where even when you think Satan helping you, he ain't. he just giving the appearance of helping you, but in reality, he can't help you because he can't help himself. Do you understand? That's what he gonna tell you in the end. He gonna say, Allah stood up there and told you to promise you the promise of truth. I promised you and failed you. You know, it's just like when a lot of people, when Donald Trump didn't go, now we finding out why Donald Trump didn't go. He didn't go because the Secret Service wouldn't take him. Do you understand? And he was cussing at them and mad because they wouldn't take him. And now that may make him look good, but if he thought it made him look good, why he ain't come out and say, I tried to come and they wouldn't let me come? He had another agenda. See, you have to, look, let me tell you something. You've seen them puzzles that after a while, you get enough pieces, and pretty soon, it's very clear where those last pieces go. You know, no matter how big the puzzle, the more of it you put together, the more the pieces begin to fall in place on just from sight. Huh? Okay, now just
Ari Melber, MSNBC Chief Legal Correspondent, the host of The V. Ari, thanks for being with us. Let me just ask your response, your reaction to some of that, what we saw in terms of what the Vice President feared, but also what apparently John Eastman fears now.
Yeah, good to be with all of you.
Okay, now, that one, that's a refresher. I wanted to refresh your memory and put that back in your head. Now, let's go back up a little more recent. Let's go to yesterday. Let's see here.
Port side of the boat from where you released. Affect two countries, two groups of states, free states and none in history.
I want to get back to that January 6th thing from yesterday. Just a moment, where they were sitting around discussing it and wondering about this and wondering about that.
For tomorrow at 1 p.m. with a hearing notice saying that the committee will, quote, present recent.
Wrong one. Yeah, I got so many of them that
Congress that day who tried to get the election results rejected in Congress. I should also mention that this is one of several instances in her testimony today where Ms. Hutchinson described White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows as being essentially inert, as being physically inert, not acting, not speaking, not reacting at all. As he and other White House senior staff were learning of threats of violence, and by the time of this testimony, the actual carrying out of violence by Trump supporters at the U.S. Capitol. Watch.
Around 2 o'clock to 2:05,
around 2 o'clock to 2:05, we were watching the TV and I could see that the rioters were getting closer and closer to the Capitol. Mark still hadn't popped out of his office or said anything about it. So that's when I went into his office. I saw that he was sitting on his couch, on his cell phone. Same as the morning where he was just kind of scrolling and typing.
Now what needs to happen is he was on the phone texting and doing stuff. They need to get his phone and see what he was doing at the time that she laid out, who he was in communication with, you see. See, that's why he don't want to come in there and testify, because he up to it, he up to his neck in it. Do you understand? Okay, just listen.
I said, hey, are you watching the TV, Chief? Because the TV was small, and you can see it, but I didn't know if he was really paying attention. I said, you're watching the TV, Chief? And he was like, yeah. So the rioters are getting really close. Have you talked to the president? He said, no, he wants to be alone right now. Still looking at his phone. So I started to get frustrated.
Even that statement, do you want to talk to the president? He said, no, he wants to be alone right now. What does that tell you? That Mike Meadows knew exactly what was going on out there, and he knew the president knew what was going on out there, and everything was actually right now going according to plan. Do you understand? And he didn't want to be bothered right now. Huh? He busy watching. Now just wait now. Just keep all that in mind.
Because I sort of felt like I was watching this is not a great comparison, but a bad car accident that was about to happen where you can't stop it, but you want to be able to do something. And I remember thinking in that moment, Mark needs to snap out of this, and I don't know how to snap him out of this, but he needs to care. And I just remember...
You know, when you honest, you can't see yourself working with dishonest people. And what was bothering her wasn't bothering Mark. That's what she didn't understand. That's why she thought he needed to snap out of it. He wasn't in shock. He was watching the moves that's being made and the plans that they had made in the war room. Remember, they had a war room at a hotel over there. See? And, you know, like in the White House, they got a war room. But, you know, Trump, you know, like if it was Jefferson Davis, you know, like in the Civil War, Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy. Remember that? They didn't recognize Lincoln no more. They didn't want to recognize Lincoln as president. Jefferson Davis was their president. That's what they say. Huh? Now you see why you got so many Jefferson counties around the southern states around there. Yeah, you know, you thought I didn't know what y'all was up to. Well, anyway, they had made the plans in the war room and everything, and it's going to become clear as the more you listen to this young lady and think about other evidence that had already came out from his attorneys. You know, that fellow who sitting up there telling them that what they was doing was legal. You know, the legally overthrowing the government. That's rich, ain't it? But that's what he was suggesting to them, that everything they was doing was legal. But anyway, just wait.
Blurted out, I said, Mark, do you know where Jim's at right now?
And he looked up at me at that point and said, "Jim?" And I said, "Marcus, he was on the floor a little while ago giving a floor speech. Did you listen?" He said, "Yeah, it was real good. Did you like it?" And I said, "Yeah." "Do you know where he's at right now?" He said, "Well, no, I haven't heard from him." And I said, "You might want to check in with him, Mark." And I remember pointing at the TV and I said, "The rioters are getting close. They might get in." And he looked at me and said something to the effect of, "All right, I'll give him a call."
Not long after the rioters broke into the Capitol, you described what happened with White House counsel Pat Cipollone.
No more than a minute and a half later, I see Pat Cipollone barreling down the hallway towards our office and rushed right in, looked at me, said, "Is Mark in his office?" And I said, "Yes." He just looked at me and started shaking his head and went over, opened Mark's.
Now, if the attorney looked at her and started shaking his head when he found out Mark was in his office, what was he shaking his head for? He was shaking his head out of disgust. You know how you can tell that the attorney wasn't with this plan to overthrow the government. You understand? And he had told him he didn't want no part in it. And when he saw Mark was still just sitting there in his office, obviously he was disgusted because Mark was going along with it. You understand? And so he was shaking his head. You know what it means when you shake your head about something that you think is just untoward and disgusting. Huh? Okay, well, so body language is something, man. You'd be surprised how much you learn from just looking at people's actions or reactions when they learn of certain things. You might have just had a conversation with somebody and agreed to something that you thought that you had made your point. And then you saw them doing just the opposite of the point that you made, and you say, "Where's so-and-so?" "Oh, you went on over there, so-and-so," you say. Shook your head, didn't you? Okay, all right, let's listen. Life is a learning experience.
The store, stood there with the door propped open, and said something to Mark's still sitting on his phone. I remember glancing and he's still sitting on his phone. And I remember Pat saying to him something to the effect of, "The rioters have gotten to the Capitol, Mark. We need to go down and see the president now." And Mark looked up at it and said, "He doesn't want to do anything, Pat." And Pat said something to the effect of, and
Mr. Salon told Mark, "We need to go see, the rioters are getting close. We need to go see the president now." And Mark told him he does not want to do anything. There's a riot in the Capitol, and the president says he does not want to do anything about it. Some of you all who support Donald Trump, would you come in and tell us what was that about? Well, let's go a little further.
Very clearly had said this to Mark, something to the effect of, "Mark, something needs to be done or people are going to die and the blood's going to be on your effing hands. This is getting out of control. I'm going down there." And at that point, Mark stood up from his couch, both of his phones in his hand. He had his glasses on still. He walked out with Pat. He put both of his phones on my desk and said, "Let me know if Jim calls." and they went down to the dining room.
A few minutes later, Representative Jordan called back.
A couple minutes later, so likely around between 2:15 and 2:25. I know the tweet went out at 2:24. I don't remember if I was there when the tweet went out or if it happened right afterwards, but Jim had called. I answered the phone, said 1 second. He knew it was, I guess he knew it was me, and I introduced myself, but I don't remember if he called my cell phone or if he had called one of Mark's. But I answered the phone and said, 1 sec, Mark's on the hall, I'm going to go hand the phone to him. He said, okay. So I went down.
You notice, she didn't relate that Jim Jordan is on the phone and he sounds upset, or he's on the phone and he sounded this way or he sounded that way. He was calm, obviously. I didn't hear you. Why is he calm? He's in on it too. Just wait. Now, it gives you, since it was about 2 minutes after Mark went with the Salon, once he went down to see Trump with Pat Salon, 2 minutes later, Jim called. Who do you suppose he was? Who was on? Who Mark had been on the phone with all that time? No, I believe Mark was on the phone with Jim Jordan. That's why he got the call right back. Do you understand? He might have hung up. He might have hung up the phone. And now this is just me. This is just me giving you my theory of it. Because that was mighty coincidental that they had just got through talking about Jim Jordan. And she asked him had he seen or had he heard from Jim, and he shrugged it off. No. Well, if he was texting back and forth with him, he didn't actually hear from him. He read from him. Do you understand? They play with words like that. So anyway, Jim Jordan calls, not in a what you call an emergency tone, but a regular tone. If he had some kind of emergency sound in his voice, don't you think she would have said something? No. So he went down there, handed him the phone. So she took the phone to Mark, and let's see what happened.
I asked the valet if Mark was in the dining room. The valet said yes. I opened the door to the dining room, briefly stepped in to get Mark's attention, showed him the phone, flipped the phone his way so he could see it said Jim Jordan. He had stepped to where I was standing there holding the door open, took the phone talking to Jim with the door still propped open. So I took a few steps back. So I probably was 2 feet from Mark. He was standing in the doorway going into the Oval Office dining room. They had a brief conversation, and in the crossfires, I heard briefly what they were talking about, but in the background, I had heard conversations in the Oval dining room at that point talking about the hang Mike Pence chance.
That clip ended, Ms. Hutchinson, with you recalling that you heard the President, Mr. Meadows, and the White House counsel discussing the hang Mike Pence chance. And then you described for us what happened next.
It wasn't until Mark hung up the phone, handed it back to me. I went back to my desk. A couple minutes later, him and Pat came back, possibly Eric Hirschman too. I'm pretty sure Eric Hirschman was there. But I'm confident it was Pat that was there. I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, "You heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong." To which Pat said something.
The president said Mike deserves it, and that he didn't think the people was doing anything wrong by saying hang Mike Pence. Just a moment now. Just a moment. You got to put all of this stuff together in order to know what something meant that was said before all of this. It goes to the beginning of her testimony. Guess what?
This is crazy. We need to be doing something more. Briefly stepped into Mark's office, and when Mark had said something to the effect of he doesn't think they're doing anything wrong, knowing what I had heard briefly in the dining room, coupled with Pat discussing the hang Mike Pence chance in the lobby of our office, and then Mark's response, I understood there to be the rioters in the Capitol that were chanting for the vice president to be hung.
You heard him, Pat. He thinks that Mike deserves it. He doesn't think that they're doing anything wrong. Pat, in this instance, again, is Pat Cipollone, Trump's White House counsel. With testimony like this, you can understand why the investigators, Liz Cheney in particular, have been pushing so hard for Cipollone himself to testify, which, of course, he has not yet done. But this is, Joy, this is something that Liz Cheney said, hearing one, that we will hear testimony that Trump thought that Pence deserved it when they were saying that he ought to be hanged, and that the people who were calling for that had the right idea. Now we get the origin of that.
You know, it's interesting watching this today. It really occurred to me, probably more than in any other hearing, that we've gone from these hearings that are about this kooky legal theory that John Eastman comes up with, that, you know, these state legislatures have the plenary power to choose different electors from the person they want. They can just choose whoever they want. And that the vice president has some independent power to then pick the electors he prefers. It's like an Oscar hearing where you pick the movie you like better than the one that's in the envelope and say, that's the winner. And that Trump then takes that and actualizes it to an actual plan with what this young woman seems to be describing as surrounding himself by an armed...
Now, first, I want to say that I really can appreciate the commentators, all of them, the way they put this back together and pulled out some of the outstanding testimony. But they missing a lot of what was really going on, because they haven't really pinned down the real motive for it all. But the motive is there. It's just tucked away in some testimony that came out and was glossed over. Do you understand? Now, just wait. I was listening to him ask questions. Why was he trying to do this? Why was he trying to do that? It was already answered, and they missed it.
Sort of putsch committee to essentially personally march into the Capitol and force Mike Pence to use that fake authority, to force Mike Pence to do this thing that up until now was this delusional idea in Trump's mind, in Eastman's mind, that he'd been walking around with since the year 2000, right? He had the same belief in 2000. He tried to actualize it. Trump then tries to take that and make a literal coup. Not like a coup that's like an intellectual coup where you try to sort of change. No, a physical, armed coup.
It came down to it. That's what that was plan Z. That was it.
And Mike Pence then is sort of, he's next door to Mark Meadows' office, having no idea that he's being set up essentially to be either forced bludgeoned, if Trump had gotten into that room, can you imagine him getting into the House of Representatives? What would Mike Pence have done? Could he have made the same decision that he ultimately made, facing Trump and a mob?
No, and I think, I think the President Trump thought he couldn't have, right? That he was going to use the mob behind him. But here's the thing that I don't get still is Meadows. Okay, you just talk about Meadows for a second, because the picture of Meadows is very consistent throughout. And it's been in some ways consistent throughout the hearings. There's roughly some camps you know about. There's the pro-coup people. We know that's Giuliani. We know that's Peter Navarro. We know that's, Ben and all this folks, right? So we know who the pro-coup
is. Peter Navarro's representative.
Peter Navarro.
Freedom host.
Yeah, your client. We know who the pro-coup people are. We know who the anti-coup people are, right? So there's, Cipollone and the White House counsel's office and the folks at DOJ, right? Then we know there's these kind of like, I don't want to have anything to do with it, cowards, right? Which is kind of what Ivanka and Jared look like. It's a few of the campaign lawyers. They're kind of sort of fence sitters, but what they do know is this is dangerous and probably criminally bad for a purely CYA reason. I'm not going to touch it.
If it works, I don't want it to look like I was against it because I want to benefit from it. But if it doesn't work, I don't want to go to jail.
But here's the thing. Meadows is the only one not in any of those three categories as established yet. It's just unclear where he is at. Like, I think he's pro-coup, but he is clearly the way station for all these different voices. He doesn't seem to be articulating the basic kind of self-preservation instinct that many other people are like, Cipollone is like, you can't do this. He's just this like bizarre cipher. And I just don't...
But we got more.
Sorry, go ahead.
Than it's ever been. And it was delivered with stunning clarity in one of the last lines of the hearing, which is, Mark Meadows knows what he knows. He knows when he knew it. He knows what he did, and he wanted a pardon. Now you just went right back from that, and this becomes for me the hearing about Mark Meadows. And it seems to me that what the committee's ambition was today was to deliver a very high-speed, direct message to the Justice Department about Mark Meadows. Their first point of irritation with the Justice Department was, we sent you a criminal referral on him for defying our subpoena, and you did nothing, and you did nothing, and then you did more nothing for months and months and months. Now they really have the goods on Mark Meadows in this testimony, and once they knew they could deliver it in this effective package, which required some discussion and negotiation with the witness and the witness's new attorney.
Now, this is what you must keep in mind. Lawrence prefaced that as this is what that means to me. Do you understand? And once you understand that, remember, Lawrence is just sometimes an investigative reporter or a news commentator. If he knew that based on evidence, you think the Justice Department didn't? I mean, the Justice Department has a duty to not just file charges against people, but file real charges against people. Not made up, not manufactured. But especially when you're dealing with people that are high profile and in high places. Because the minute the Justice Department starts filing cases that they cannot prove, then the public is justified to lose faith in the Justice Department. That here we go again. Do you understand? And you charged so-and-so and didn't do nothing, and it wasn't right, and this wasn't right, and that wasn't right. So the Justice Department is the highest law enforcement agency, like the Supreme Court is the highest court. Now, the Supreme Court used to be somewhat beyond reproach. That you felt that the justices on the Supreme Court, that's a law court. Like federal court. When you go to federal judges, It ain't about fair and not right, not fair and fair and unfair. It's about the Constitution. What of your constitutional rights was violated? They will look at that. And if you rightly in there because your constitutional rights was violated, the federal court will kick down what they, knock down what they did in the lower courts. You understand? The Justice Department cannot afford to just run out on public outcry. The Justice Department has to go after justice. Do you understand? Justice is a scale of balance. And if you're going to haul people into court, they are presumed innocent until you have enough evidence that is weighty enough to say they are guilty. Do you understand? So this along with whatever other evidence that they got that now along with it, if they didn't already have it. Do you understand? Okay. Now, but it's something that that I hope that they didn't miss it, because I sure didn't miss it. And if they did miss it, I'm gonna give it to them, because motive is here. It's here. Just wait.
Who's not on the Trump team, they decided we're going to go out there, we're going to deliver this today at very high speed directly to the Justice Department about the person who the Justice Department so far is protecting from that subpoena, possibly theoretically on the notion that there's some version of privilege that maybe we should honor here, but there is of course no such thing as any form of privilege when what you're protecting is discussions of a crime. And you have that scene, that Godfather scene, where this person who's very close to Mark Meadows, and we have extra comment from people today who knew this, that she was in every single high-level meeting that he was in on the Hill, very unusual. There comes a moment in this drama where she goes over to tell him something important, and he closes the door of the car. She's very surprised. That's never happened before. He closes the door of the car because she can't hear what he's talking about on the phone. She does it again a little while later, thinking that's one rare moment where the door gets closed on me for the first time in history. He closes the door again.
Well, so, and just to finish the loop on this, and I think the dark matter that this all orbited around, the implication, is that there is an off-the-book coup that's being sprouted out of the Willard Hotel with the people that we know, right? The Roger Stones and the Steve Bannons, that basically Meadows is read into and is essentially the only staffer who is read into that, right? The implication of all
they don't tell us that today. Right. It created the possibility that is true.
Right. But the implication is he knows more than he's willing to say, that he's having these conversations that she can't be a part of, that he's reacting while everyone else reacts with surprise and alarm and bewilderment. That things are going crazy. He's not reacting. That's the whole theme of the day.
And we are getting, and you can sort of narrow it down even further from that, right? We get a lot of testimony today, and it's disconnected from everything else about the fact that Mark Meadows wanted to go in person to the Willard Hotel to go participate in these war room discussions on January 5th, the night before January 6th, and that Ms. Hutchinson thought that, who's a loyalist and works for him and does everything with him, thought that was a bad idea, and eventually at the very last second he decides he's not going to do it, but he does phone in. We don't really get an explanation for why that's relevant. In terms of the phone call that you're talking about, this is where Cassidy Hutchinson, according to these very interesting call logs,
you see, they didn't realize that they had gotten the relevancy of why of that. Just a moment. Listen to what Rachel said.
Logs that we get. January 6th, and that Ms. Hutchinson thought that, who's a loyalist and works for him and does everything with him, thought that was a bad idea, and eventually at the very last second he decides he's not going to do it, but he does phone in. We don't really get an explanation for why that's relevant. In terms of the phone call that you're talking about, this is...
It's relevant because of what the intent was. The intent was to stage a insurrection that would allow martial law to be invoked, to be instituted. That put all, see, when you introduce martial law, according to the definition that they give you, it says martial law is justified when civilian authority has ceased to function, is completely absent, or has become ineffective. Further, martial law suspends all existing laws as well as civil authority and the ordinary administration of justice. You see, so they was manufacturing a insurrection, and they had already agreed that Antifa was going to be blamed. You understand? That's why they kept talking about what a peaceful rally they had. And you never heard about, until this latest hearing here, you never heard about all of the people that was carrying rifles and all of that kind of thing, Trump supporters. And Donald Trump told them to take the mags away, take the magnetic detectors away, and let my people in. You see, always remember that. Just remember that part, and then you're going to find out how true it is when them gangsters say it wasn't nothing personal. It was just business. You remember when in The Godfather that the fella the character that played Fish turned on the Corleone family and decided to throw in with the other fella, and Michael found out about it, and his dad had warned him. He said, whoever comes to you to set up the meet, that's the traitor. And so he was going to set Michael up to be killed. And he came up, told Michael we'll have it in his territory, and he was going to supply the security. And when Michael didn't even get mad. He said, yeah, that was a smart move. It was all about business with them. You understand? So, even though they killed him, and in the end, he asked Michael. He asked the lawyer. I forgot who was playing the lawyer. The actor that was playing the lawyer. He asked him, well, can you put in a word for me? He said, I can't do it. So they put him in the back seat and took him for a ride. You understand? And he knew it wasn't personal. It was just the business that they was in. You understand? Okay. Well, these people, they don't have spiritual values. Remember, the devil wasn't made with spiritual values. As he said, my Lord, you have judged me to be erring. And I'm going to certainly make evil fast aiming to them on earth, and I'm going to cause all of them to deviate. It's easy to convince someone to commit murder if you can isolate them from God, from the Word of God. Do you understand? What would hinder us from doing those things is our belief in God. Thou shalt not kill. Huh? Take that away, then it's a dog-eat-dog world. Huh? Yeah. You see? So, legislating righteousness has never worked in the past, and it will never work in the future. Righteousness must be, you must be born into righteousness. Your mind has to be birthed into that it will become your nature. You understand? And so you practice anything long enough, and it becomes what they say second nature. You do it without even thinking. You must carry it into practice. Be not hearers of the word only, but doers of it. You understand? Okay, let's get back to this. Now they keep asking why, but the answer is staring them right in the face.
Cassidy Hutchinson, according to these very interesting call logs or text logs that we get, where we learn that National Security Council staff knew that the Capitol Police were overwhelmed, knew that the breaches had happened, and knew about it in real time. That itself was a revelation. She is going to tell Mark Meadows the U.S. Capitol Police are having trouble stacking bodies. They cannot get enough personnel in front of this mob, and they are in trouble there. This is an urgent thing to deliver. That's when he doesn't take her call. The only person we know that Meadows was not talking to on the phone there is Donald Trump, because Donald Trump was at that moment still giving his speech. Because when he closes the door on Cassidy Hutchinson for the second time, all he says is, how much time is left in this speech? So we know that that's not who he's talking to in that moment.
Okay. How much time is left in the speech? They knew that it was a certain amount of time they wanted Donald Trump to be speaking. Otherwise, why did he ask how much time is left in the speech? And Donald Trump knew how much time he was supposed to stand up there and speak. And so he was doing his part of it. Standing up, getting the crowd revved up. You understand? And had all of those other people. Remember the man, was it Mo somebody? What was his name? That fella in Alabama, Mo Brooks. You remember he had a flak jacket on? He came there ready. He said, this is the day we kick behind and take names. He said, kick ass and take names. Is that what he said? Okay. Now, remember now, it was a plan set in motion. Remember they said it will be wild. Remember that? Donald Trump said it, and the people who was in that circle with him, they was repeating it. Now just keep watching.
That's how I discern the timeline and the testimony today. So who else was he talking to that was more important than learning in the first instance, in real time, while he's getting in a car that's about to move, that the Capitol is being violently overrun? Who was more important to continue talking to in that moment?
I think that's what they're connecting, is who were those operational people. The fact that some people who should have known better were still actually concerned by how bad it was does read credibly. But you cannot throw yourself a surprise party. Yes. If you know what you're doing, then Mark Meadows, Donald Trump, and a few others, according to the evidence, did not seem surprised because this was either the direct plan or the thing that they saw as a distinct eventuality and possibility. The other point I wanted to share, Rachel, is there have been parts of this whole investigation that have been very concerning that go to government malfeasance and street-level violence. Today is different because when you get down to what does a government have, what does a legitimate government have, when you go to political science class day one, it's a monopoly on violence. And we are seeing how the plan that Donald Trump had was to take himself and his guards, who still protect him personally, to bring his people with guns to the Capitol. And he ended up in a physical altercation with them. They were trying to protect him from the danger and bring him back to the White House for safety. He was trying to bring them, to put them in danger. Not courageous. He had reason to believe, according to the evidence, the testimony, that the other people were going to kill or attack police, other politicians, Vice President Pence, targets. Vice President Pence is a protectee. Secret Service has a lawful obligation to help protect him, even over an illegal order from the president. We have rules about this which are helpful up to a point. And so the fact that we have now, for the first time, as far as I see it under oath, had Trump aides put under oath, that we got to that point that you have seen in other countries where coups are physically practiced, where there are guns on both sides. That's a terrible place to be. It is what Donald Trump wanted. It is why he went for, the word of the day is clavicle. It's why he went for the clavicle, the throat of an agent who risked his own life for Trump over who was going to bring guns to the Capitol. And that's why it's so bad legally for criminal culpability for Trump.
And I will just say, Lawrence made the excellent point moments ago when we were talking about Trump insisting that it was okay that the people were armed, that the mob was armed, because they didn't, they were going to hurt him, they weren't out to hurt him. Lawrence, I just want to invite you, now that we're back on TV and not just talking in the commercial break, to make the point that you made about what talking point that kills for these guys.
Well, certainly this thing that they tried for a while, and they still do to some extent, it was empty. There are people who still say that.
I am my grandfather's
Donald Trump has now said to you
Count
conclusively, I knew they weren't out to hurt me. I knew they were all my friends and they were going to take care of it.
He also has a pre-existing history with the Proud Boys, and I think this brings that back up. I mean, let's not forget that in Miami-Dade County, the Proud Boys have been operating for a very long time in very close proximity to the Miami-Dade Republican Party. They are the same group that didn't physically attack, but certainly physically menaced the Speaker of the House a couple of years ago. They now essentially run the Miami-Dade Republican Party. Enrique Tarrio, who's the head of the Proud Boys, was in the White House before as a guest, has been a sort of presidential guest in proximity, maybe not meeting with Trump. He was the head of Latinos for Trump. This is somebody who's been both involved in the violent kind of street-level violence that you're talking about, but also politically proximal. And let's not forget that Donald Trump said, when he was asked to denounce groups like the Proud Boys by name, what he said was, stand back and stand by.
That's right. All right, there was one final major revelation from the committee today, which actually came after the testimony from the witness. And this final revelation from the committee today may have gone some distance to explaining why this happened today, why they rushed to put this witness on in a surprise, previously unscheduled hearing where her identity was not known until the last minute. I will tell you, incidentally, this last point made in the hearing today is the one that got all the lawyers watching to start vibrating off their chairs at a very high intensity. We've got that final revelation from today's hearing coming up for you next. Stay with us.
Was convinced to put out a video on the 7th. I understand that he had a lot of opinions about what the context of that announcement were to entail. I had original drafts of the speech where there were several lines that didn't make it in there about prosecuting the rioters or calling them violent. He didn't want that in there. He wanted to put in there that he wanted to potentially pardon them. And this is just with the increased emphasis of his mindset at the time, which was he didn't think that they did anything wrong. The people who did something wrong that day, or the person who did something wrong that day, was Mike Pence by not standing with him.
What if I sleep hot?
Or cold?
No problem. Sleep number 3.
As a country, how quickly should the White House act?
Outright. Those whose memories have failed them again and again on the most important details, and to those who fear Donald Trump and his enablers, because of this courageous woman and others like her, your attempt to hide the truth from the American people will fail.
Because of this courageous woman and others like her, your attempts to hide the truth will fail. That's the chairman of the January 6th investigation, Congressman Benny Thompson, today saying, it's not a good idea, witnesses, to keep hiding the truth from the investigation since no one works alone, no one works in a vacuum, and with more than 1,000 witnesses who have come forward to this committee, so many of them are telling the truth that ultimately you hiding the truth, you're going to be found out. The final major revelation from today's hearing was at the close of the hearing. It came after the conclusion of the witness testimony, but it dovetailed very neatly with that exhortation from the chairman. It came from Republican Vice Chair of the investigation, Liz Cheney. While Thompson was there telling witnesses, don't hide the truth, we're going to find it out, Liz Cheney basically said through a megaphone aimed at the Justice Department, hey, look over here. We've got evidence that on the Trump side, they've been tampering with witnesses in this investigation, intimidating witnesses in this investigation, and oh, by the way, that's a crime.
While our committee has seen many witnesses, including many Republicans, testify fully and forthrightly, this has not been true of every witness. And we have received evidence of one particular practice that raises significant concern. Our committee commonly asks witnesses connected to Mr. Trump's administration or campaign whether they've been contacted by any of their former colleagues or anyone else who attempted to influence or impact their testimony. Without identifying any of the individuals involved, let me show you a couple of samples of answers we received to this question. First, here's how one witness described phone calls from people interested in that witness's testimony. Quote, what they said.
Now, before we go further, now they're coming up with another charge for some of these people, witness tampering. You know, that's all of these things. I can just see the laundry list of charges that the Justice Department is putting together for these people. They have to make, the Justice Department has to make a statement that to attempt the overthrow of the United States government is you do so to your own peril. Do you understand? Because to do so is to be in contempt of the Constitution. And you know, when the lawyers, they tell you this all the time. You got to follow the judge's instruction. To be found in contempt of court is to do so to your own peril. Meaning you ain't might be in trouble, you gonna be in trouble. Do you understand? That's the message that need to be sent to these infidels that ain't had no better sense than to butt in to a government and butt into a situation that Allah is in charge of. They must have forgot that all of most of our lives we had something that we was reminded of: one nation under God. You forgot that part, didn't you? You know, I mean, when Job was suffering and being afflicted, the fools came up to Job saying, you must have did something. You must have, you know, why are you being afflicted like this if you didn't do? But Job just, went back and forth with them. But in the end, his wife told him, why don't you just go on and cuss God and die? And Job didn't forget that he didn't come here with all that wealth. That was by God's hand. He gave it to him. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. If I could be satisfied with him giving me something, shall I refuse now to recognize his authority if he want to take it from me? No. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the word of God. Huh? And he said, naked came I from my mother's womb. Naked shall I return thither. Huh? We didn't come here with nothing. We was born naked. Whatever we acquired that after we got here by Allah's grace and his permission. And so likewise, these people that think that just because you see, well, Nineveh was going through some stuff. God didn't forget about Nineveh. He sent Jonah. Huh? They asked Jesus, where would the Son of Man be? Jesus said, wheresoever the carcass is, there shall the eagles be gathered together. Wherever the greatest need. This country is filled with all types of immoral and amoral people. People whose morality is completely absent from their mentality. For what those people planned to do to people who was even helping them showed completely a lack of moral character, a moral principle. They, you know, I mean, you go and help somebody, and they plan to use you as a martyr to justify their final plan. I think well, I'll let you be the judge of that about the Secret Service. But them young men, those young men, they are trained to get in front of a bullet for you. It ain't about whether they love you or like you. That is their patriotic duty. So they feel that is their patriotic duty to take a bullet for the president, to keep him safe. Not Donald Trump, the president. Not Barack Obama, the president. They're not protecting the person. They are protecting what that person represents. Do you understand? They don't have to like him, but it is their job to keep him safe as long as he occupies that office. And then after he gets out of that office, people are appointed to see after him, secure him. Do you understand? That's a way of the nation saying thank you to someone who served us. And when they try to overthrow that, they are showing the worst type of ingratitude. That's the worst thing you can do to a man whose job it is to get in front of a bullet for you, is to put him in harm's way just so you can make a showing, and just so you can do something that will bring an end to his whole way of life. Do you understand? Hey, just wait.
To me is as long as I continue to be a team player, they know I'm on the right team. I'm doing the right thing. I'm protecting who I need to protect. I'll continue to stay in good graces in Trump world. And they have reminded me a couple of times that Trump does read transcripts. And just keep that in mind as I proceed through my interviews with the committee. Here's another sample in a different context. This is a call received by one of our witnesses. Quote, "A person let me know you have your deposition tomorrow. He wants me to let you know he's thinking about you. He knows you're loyal and you're going to do the right thing when you go in for your deposition." I think most Americans know that attempting to influence witnesses to testify untruthfully presents very serious concerns. We will be discussing these issues as a committee, carefully considering our next steps.
You know, most of what I know about witness intimidation, I know from the...
Now let's put some more of this in proper perspective. Now, some of us forgot this testimony, so I want you to pay attention here. Let me change this thing back here.
Rebuke from top military leaders pushing back against the talk of imposing martial law that's reportedly swirling inside the Trump White House. The Secretary of the Army and the Army Chief of Staff having to release a joint statement saying in part, quote, "There is no role for the U.S. military in determining the outcome of an American election." It is remarkable that military officials are even having to say this, but that is the response after multiple reports. Trump asked about the option on Friday during an Oval Office meeting about overturning the election. Trump says the reporting is wrong. One person attending Friday's meeting was Trump's former National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn. Now, the day before that meeting, this is what Flynn said. Watch.
He could immediately, on his order, seize every single one of these machines around the country on his order. Within the swing states, if he wanted to, he could take military capabilities and basically rerun an election in each of those states. I mean, it's not unprecedented. I mean, these people out there talking about martial law, it's like it's something that we've never done. Martial law has been instituted 64 times.
That is a former U.S. general calling for martial law to rerun an election in this country. Joining me now is retired Army General Barry McCaffrey, a former National Security Council member. Thank you so much, General McCaffrey, for joining us. I'm curious to get your thoughts, first of all. How alarming do you find this talk of martial law?
We've never heard anything like it since 1860. I was personally horrified watching Mike Flynn, who was a terrific intelligence officer during the War on Terror, who's now acting in a demented fashion, seizing ballot boxes, the armed forces in charge of unilaterally conducting elections in swing states. This is thuggery. This is third world behavior. By the way, the armed forces will never in any way take part. But what we don't want to do is find out what happens when the Commander-in-Chief tells the acting Secretary of Defense to pull something like this off. So I think what we get back to is the responsibility of Republican senators in particular is going to be heavy in history if they don't go to the President in public and back him down from this criminal.
No, the thing that you get back to is your oath of office. And in the oath of office, everyone takes and in the military, when you are inducted, or when they draft you, or either when you volunteer, you take an oath that you will uphold the Constitution and defend it against all enemies, foreign, or whether they live right here in the United States, domestic. Do you understand? In other words, the Constitution is what you swear an oath to, not to the persons who swore the same oath as you. Do you understand? when they violate the Constitution, they just lost any allegiance that you owed them. Do you understand? Is there anybody, all you lawyers out there, why don't you come in here and tell me what I got wrong now? You know, the scripture says, if you will not be faithful in that which was another man's, who shall commit to you the true riches? Huh? If you never learned how to obey your father and your mother and honor them, do you honestly think that you will be an obedient citizen in anybody's country? No. Because you think you can do what you please when you please. The only time you will obey is if you are in agreement. And that's not what laws are for. Laws are not there to be obeyed only if you agree. They are there to be obeyed if you believe in having a civilized society. Huh? Sometimes laws are inconvenient, but the inconvenience of them is one of the things that they will put there for, to make it to be a conscience for people who otherwise may not have had a consciousness of right and wrong. You understand? So, but anyway, let's get back to this. Now you see, Michael Flynn. Now he was at that meeting in the war room. Huh? The martial law man. Huh? Okay. Now you see what they was working on. Now watch what happens in the some of the investigations that was going on. Now watch this. Excuse me. Make sure I unmute this thing. I know. I'm going to put it on mute. Just give me a minute.
On December 19th, President Trump tweeted about the January stand by comment. Exponentially. I'd say stand by. After he made this comment,
Energized individuals from the committee has conducted extensive investigative work to understand what led the Proud Boys and other rioters to the Capitol on January 6th. We've obtained substantial evidence showing that the president's December 19th tweet calling his followers to Washington, D.C. on January 6th energized individuals from the Proud Boys and other extremist groups. I'd like to play a brief video highlighting some of this evidence.
My name is Marcus Childress. I'm an investigative counsel for the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol.
What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a name. Stand back and can stand by.
After he made this comment, Enrique Terrio, then chairman of the Proud Boys, said on Parlor, "Standing by, sir." During our investigation, we learned that this comment during the presidential debate actually led to an increase in membership from the Proud Boys.
Would you say that Proud Boys numbers increased after the stand back, stand by comment?
Exponentially. I'd say triple, probably. With the potential for a lot more eventually.
Did you ever sell any stand back and stand by merchandise?
One of the vendors on my page actually beat me to it, but I wish I would have made a stand back, stand by shirt.
On December 19th, President Trump tweeted about the January 6th rally and told attendees, "Be there, we'll be wild." Many of the witnesses that we interviewed were inspired by the president's call.
Now remember, this is all about motive. This is all about, was it a spur of the moment thing or was it a plan? He said, be there. It will be wild. Huh? That's what you need in order to declare martial law. Do you understand? You need a breakdown of the, what did it says, martial law is justified when civil authority has ceased to function. When the people just overran the police that was securing the Capitol, that was setting it in motion. You understand? Not to mention the Proud Boys and them Oath Keeper fellas, but the Proud Boys, they was going around, they had weapons that they had put in hotels and everything. They didn't even go down to the speech. Remember the reporter, the filmmaker, filmed them walking away from the thing when Trump started speaking. They was going to get ready just in case the president declared martial law. Do you understand? Now just listen.
And came to D.C. for January 6th. But the extremists, they took it a step further. They viewed this tweet as a call to arms. A day later, the Department of Justice describes how the Proud Boys created a chat called the Ministry of Self-Defense Leadership Chat. In this chat, the Proud Boys established a command structure in anticipation of coming back to D.C. on January 6th. The Department of Justice describes Mr. Tarrio coming into possession of a document called the 1776 Returns, which describes individuals occupying key buildings around the United States Capitol. The Oath Keepers are another group that the committee investigated.
You better get your ass to DC, folks, this Saturday.
Yeah, if you don't, there's going to be no more public, but we're not going to let that happen. It's not even an if. It's either President Trump is encouraged and bolstered, strengthened to do what he must do, or we wind up in a bloody fight. We all know that. The fight's coming. The Oath Keepers began planning to block the peaceful transfer of power shortly after the November 3rd election. And according to the Department of Justice, Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers leader, said to his followers that we were not going to get through this without a civil war. In response to the December 19th, 2020 tweet by President Trump, the Oath Keepers focused on January 6th in Washington, D.C. In response to the tweet, one member, the president of the Florida chapter, put on social media, "The president called us to the Capitol. He wants us to make it wild." The goal was for the Oath Keepers to be called to duty so that they could keep the president in power, although President Trump had just lost the election. The committee learned that the Oath Keepers set up quick reaction forces outside of the city in Virginia where they stored arms. The goal of these quick reaction forces was to be on standby just in case President Trump invoked the Insurrection Act.
Did the Oath Keepers ever provide weapons to members?
I'm going to find the answer to that in the grounds for due process grounds.
In footage obtained by the committee, we learned that on the night of January 5th, Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes met in a parking garage in Washington, D.C.
There's mutual respect there. I think we're fighting the same fight, and I think that's what's important.
The committee learned that the Oath Keepers went into the Capitol through the east doors in two stack formations. The DOJ alleges that one of the stacks went into the Capitol looking for Speaker Pelosi, although they never found her. As the attack was unfolding, Mr. Tarrio took credit. In documents obtained by the Department of Justice, Mr. Tarrio said in an encrypted chat, "Make no mistake, and we did this." Later on that evening, Mr. Tarrio even posted a video which seemed to resemble him in front of the Capitol with a black cape, and the title of the video was Premonition. The evidence developed by the Select Committee and the Department of Justice highlights how each group participated on the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. In fact, the investigation revealed that it was individuals associated with the Proud Boys who instigated the initial breach at the Peace Circle at 12:53 p.m. Within 10 minutes, rioters had already filled the Lower West Plaza. By 2 o'clock, rioters had reached the doors on the west and the east plazas. And by 2:13, rioters had actually broken through the Senate wing door and got into the Capitol building. A series of breaches followed. At 2:25 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors to the rotunda. And then right after 2:40 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors near the Ways and Means room. Once the rioters infiltrated the Capitol, they moved through the crypt, the rotunda, the hallways leading to the House chambers, and even inside the Senate chambers.
So now, you saw them putting the weapons into places. They had overwatch, snipers in different spots. What do you suppose that was for? I'll tell you what it was for. Remember, Donald Trump, he got mad because they told him, he looked out there and his people with guns was not coming through because of the metal detectors. He ordered them to take the metal detectors away. Huh? Now, why wouldn't he want metal detectors at his peaceful rally? It will be wild, remember? That's the only way you can declare martial law is if things get wild. Huh? And all other normal law won't exist no more. Okay, just wait. Let's see here. We had I like to give you all of this stuff. Let me make sure I'm
Mr. Chairman, we will begin today with an exchange that first provided Ms. Hutchinson a tangible sense of the ongoing planning for the events of January 6th. On January 2nd, 4 days before the attack on our Capitol, President Trump's lead lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, was meeting with White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and others. Ms. Hutchinson, do you remember Mr. Giuliani meeting with Mr. Meadows on January 2nd, 2021?
I do. He met with Mr. Meadows in the evening of January 2nd, 2021.
And we understand that you walked Mr. Giuliani out of the White House that night, and he talked to you about January 6th.
Now, it's very important. It's very important that you listen closely to what Mr. Giuliani said to her about Donald Trump. And it tells you that they were staging a coup. And the way they was going to put it over was by declaring martial law. Do you understand? But you must listen close to what Giuliani said to Ms. Hutchinson.
What you remember him saying. As Mr. Giuliani and I were walking to his vehicles that evening, he looked at me and said something to the effect of, "Cass, are you excited for the 6th? It's going to be a great day." I remember looking at him and saying, "Rudy, could you explain what's happening on the 6th? He had responded something to the effect of, "We're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful. He's going to be with the..."
He's going to look powerful. He's going to look powerful? What's another word for look? What's another word for seen? Appear. It's all a scheme. How will he appear powerful? He got into an argument with his limo driver. This Secret Service that's supposed to be securing him, they wasn't riding in the limo. They was riding in them other vehicles, Suburban. And when the president found out they wasn't going to take him to the Capitol, he got irate. See, the plan was them snipers that was in place, his Secret Service men, they was going to be sacrificed. And the president was going to be standing up like he's bold and powerful and unafraid and telling the crowd, this is Antifa. And this was their plan. And this was the, that's why they didn't, that's why he wasn't having people search, because they was planning on blaming and sniping and all of that on Antifa. Remember how he was talking about how peaceful of a meeting they had? But if those Secret Service men had been flunkies, they'd be dead now. More than likely, they would be dead. Because in order to make it appear that lawlessness was the order of the day, they was going to get wild up there. And he was going to look. What did Giuliani told her? What did he tell her? Let's go back a few bars.
To explain what's happening on the 6th. He had responded something to the effect of, "We're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful. He's going to be with the members. He's going to be..."
He's going to look powerful. Huh? Yeah, he's going to look powerful by declaring martial law, and then get his people in places to do an investigation and all that kind of thing, and a whole lot of people was going to get arrested. And if Mike Pence wasn't killed, he'd have been one of them sacrificed. But the fact of the matter is, I think they was, planning on killing him. So, and blaming it on the Antifa. So, they had a scheme, man. When Mike Flynn told him about declaring martial law and he could do that, it was all about, well, how do we do it? Why you think Mike Flynn was up there taking the Fifth Amendment? Listen to Mike Flynn. Let me show you something. Now, this is what the evidence that they have been showing us is screaming to me. This let me see here.
So General Flynn has appeared before this committee, and when he appeared before our committee, he took the Fifth. Let's briefly view a clip of General Mike Flynn taking the Fifth Amendment. General Flynn, do you believe the violence on January 6th was justified?
Do we have?
Now, you'll notice now, Flynn ain't going to answer that question. You know why he won't answer? Because he don't know whether or not they got proof that he was one of them advocating it. Do you understand? So he going it's going to take him a while to answer, but just wait. Just listen to the questions and things that you would have thought was a no-brainer. But Mike Flynn, instead of saying, no, I don't believe it was justified, he said he took the Fifth Amendment. That if I tell the truth, it's going to incriminate me. Huh? It may tend to incriminate me. Huh? Okay, listen.
Do we have?
Yes.
First he asked, could we have a minute? His lawyer was sitting there with him, I guess, saying, could we have a minute? For the first question, I guess, I don't know if that was the first question. That's the one she asked him. Just, let's see here.
Yes.
Do we have?
General Flynn, do you believe the violence on January 6th was justified?
Do we have?
I'm glad they had the closed caption there because it says, can we have a minute? Because you notice all you could get was, can we, and that was it. Okay. Now listen.
Yes. Yes, General Flynn, do you believe the violence on January 6th was justified?
Can I get clarification on, is that a moral question that you're asking? Now he wants to start playing word salad. Wants to play with words. Watch how she answers.
I'm asking both.
I'm asking both. morally or lawfully. He said, I said fifth. He's taking the fifth. When asked, was the violence, did he think it was okay? Did he think it was justifiable?
The violence on January 6th was justified morally?
Now she asked him, do you think that the violence on January 6th was justifiable, justified morally? He said, I'll take the fifth.
You believe the violence on January 6th was justified legally?
Do you believe it was the violence on the 6th was justified legally? He just said fifth that time. Fifth.
General Clinton, do you believe in the peaceful transition of power in the United States of America?
Do you believe in the peaceful transfer of power in the United States of America? And he took the Fifth Amendment. Because he don't know what the Justice Department got. Huh? Did they have somebody in there when he was helping Donald Trump and them plan that fake, pretentious riot to justify declaring martial law? Because you notice in martial law, it says that further, martial law, let me read the whole thing. It ain't but a couple of sentences. Martial law is justified when civilian authority has ceased to function, is completely absent, or has become ineffective. Now you see why Donald Trump, when Mr. Salon came down there with Ms. Hutchinson and asked was Mark Meadows in his office. And she said, yes, he's in there. And he opened the door and shook his head. Huh? As if to say, what, he's sitting there doing nothing. And then, well, what did it say? Martial law is justified when civilian authority has ceased to function. What had Donald Trump done? He had ceased to function as president. At least he was orchestrating something to give the appearance that the civilian authority had ceased to function. Huh? National Guard wasn't ordered up over there. And, right? Okay. And he said, further, martial law suspends all existing laws there, as well as civil authority and the ordinary administration of justice. He's going to look strong. He's going to look great. What did Rudy say? Let me go back to that. We like to let's see here. See which one was that. Here it is. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, we will begin today with an exchange that first provided Ms. Hutchinson a tangible sense of the ongoing planning for the events of January 6th. On January 2nd, 4 days before the attack on our Capitol, President Trump's lead lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, was meeting with White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and others. Ms. Hutchinson, do you remember Mr. Giuliani meeting with Mr. Meadows on January 2nd, 2021?
I do. He met with Mr. Meadows in the evening of January 2nd, 2021.
And we understand that you walked Mr. Giuliani out of the White House that night, and he talked to you about January 6th. What do you remember him saying?
As Mr. Giuliani and I were walking to his vehicles that evening, he looked at me and said something to the effect of, "Cass, are you excited for the 6th? It's going to be a great day." I remember him saying, "Rudy, could you explain what's happening on the 6th? He had responded something to the effect of, "We're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful. He's going to be with the members. He's going to be with the senators. Talk to the chief about it.
Oh, excuse me. Say, let's put it back. I'm gonna back it up. You should say something while I'm playing.
Exchange that first provided Ms. Hutchinson a tangible sense of the ongoing planning for the events of January 6th. On January 2nd, 4 days before the attack on our Capitol, President Trump's lead lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, was meeting with White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and others. Ms. Hutchinson, do you remember Mr. Giuliani meeting with Mr. Meadows on January 2nd, 2021?
I do. He met with Mr. Meadows in the evening of January 2nd, 2021.
And we understand that you walked Mr. Giuliani out of the White House that night, and he talked to you about January 6th. What do you remember him saying?
As Mr. Giuliani and I were walking to his vehicles that evening, he looked at me and said something to the effect of, "Cass, are you excited for the 6th? It's going to be a great day." I remember looking at him saying, "Rudy, could you explain what's happening on the 6th? He had responded something to the effect of, "We're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful. He's going to be with the members. He's going to be with the senators. Talk to the chief about it. Talk to the chief about it. He knows about it."
And did you go back?
We're going to the Capitol. As for Giuliani, he's excited. It's going to be great. The president's going to look powerful. He's going to meet with the members and the senators. Yeah. Which ones? The ones who helped him plan this? Huh? Okay. Now let's go on. Now Mark Meadows knew everything that was going on. Just listen to what she said about Mark Meadows.
Then up to the West Wing and tell Mr. Meadows about your conversation with Mr. Giuliani?
I did. After Mr. Giuliani had left the campus that evening, I went back up to our office and I found Mr. Meadows in his office on the couch. He was scrolling through his phone. I remember leaning against the doorway and saying, "I had an interesting conversation with Rudy, Mark. Sounds like we're going to go to the Capitol." He didn't look up from his phone and said something to the effect of, "There's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know. Things might get real, real bad on January 6th.
Here's a man that's part of an administration of the United States government. He tells Cassidy Hutchinson, I don't know. I think things, let's get that again. Let's get that little part again. I don't want to misquote.
Sounds like we're going to go to the Capitol. He didn't look up from his phone and said something to the effect of, there's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know, things might get real, real bad on January 6th.
There's a lot going on, Cass. I don't know. And things may get real, real bad on the 6th. Duty dictates that you inform the Justice Department. That's what duty dictates. Unless you part of that group that plan to make things get bad. On a day, maybe you having regrets or second thoughts, but you took the money. Huh? You know, there's one thing about there's a saying in this world, and they put it in movies. The first rule in dealing with the devil is don't. How can you expect evil plans to yield good results for you? You still got people that think they can plan evil and somehow be rewarded with a good result. That day gone. You never really got a good result. What you got was respited. You can't plant lemon seeds and get back oranges. Why do you think you were called a fugitive and a vagabond? A fugitive is someone that his evil had not caught up with him. Justice hadn't caught up with him yet to repay him for his evil. The scripture says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and I will repay. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So here, Mark Meadows telling her it could get real bad. Why don't he call up the Justice Department and tell them? No, he sided with it. He was going to go over there until she told him don't go. Then he said, well, I'll call in. He called in and listened to the scheme being planned. Let's see here. What else did? Let's get on back into this testimony of hers.
Evidence and reaching out to state legislatures about that. So pretty much the way that the White House is handling the post-election period, he felt that there could be.
Division sent several emails to White House personnel like Deputy Chief of Staff Tony Ornato and the head of the President's Protective Detail, Robert Engel, including certain materials listing events like those on the screen. The White House continued to receive updates about planned demonstrations, including information regarding the Proud Boys organizing and planning to attend events on January 6th. Although Ms. Hutchinson has no detailed knowledge of any planning involving the Proud Boys for January 6th, she did note this.
I recall hearing the word Oath Keeper and hearing the word Proud Boys closer to the planning of the January 6th rally when Mr. Giuliani would be around.
On January 3rd, the Capitol Police issued a special event assessment. In that document, the Capitol Police noted that the Proud Boys and other groups planned to be in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and indicated that, quote, unlike previous post-election protests, the targets of the pro-Trump supporters are not necessarily the counter-protesters as they were previously, but rather Congress itself is the target on the 6th.
Remember when Trump told them to get rid of the mags? They not here to hurt me. Well, if they wasn't here to hurt him, who was they there to hurt with all them rifles and weapons and stuff? How would he even know if they was there to hurt him? How would he even know that? He had been talking to them people all the time, bro. Remember, Tario had been been in the White House before, talking with Trump. Huh? He's the head of the Proud Boys, right? Standing by, sir. That's what he's saying. Standing by, sir. So, his plan was that's why when they was passing out masks in there, some of the so-called Republicans was, and let me tell you something about Rhino. They call them Republicans in name only. That's an insult, but an insult worse than you realize, because it was meant to label Americans. It is another way of saying this one is an American, so you ain't gonna get no help from them. You see, when this lady had a choice between being a Republican and being an American, she said, as a Republican, I wanted to do all I could to make the administration successful. But as an American, I was disgusted. Huh? So you see, in a sense, a Republican is a Republican in name only. But their first name, their real name, is American. You understand? A citizen of the United States of America. But those people who are Republicans, they don't give a damn about America. They don't care nothing about nothing but their party, their group. They have become a cult. Do you understand? And they do all of their stuff in secret. That's the way a cult operates. A cult they ain't gonna come out in the open and talk about what they really about, because then you realize that the ones at the top is just a bunch of crooks and schemers who have duped people into, and if not duped, they are co-conspirators. Do you understand? And so, it's just like Scientology. Now, I done told people, even some of the people who was in Scientology, they come out now, some of them scared to say something and scared, but they come out and tell you that it's a scam. That it ain't about nothing. But it's the secrecy. That's what you have to be, that's what always brings them under suspicion, is that they are secret. Nothing is they one face in the open and another one in secret. You understand? And so You know, like what Rudy Giuliani said to her, that he's going to look powerful. He's going to look powerful? That statement within itself tells you that it's a staged event coming up here. Huh? So when he declares martial law, it's going to look like he's bringing order and everything, when what he's actually doing is overthrowing your government. See? And it kind of ruined his thing. The reason he was so telling them, get rid of those effing mags and let my people in. Huh? Remember that? Well, it's his people. And so you can't say it was Antifa now that shot down the Secret Service and stuff. That's what he was so mad about. Do you understand? It was going to kill up some people and then blame it on Antifa. So I'm just, how many of y'all disagree with what I'm saying here? You think that I'm reaching here? Am I reaching? Come on, I don't need no yes man behind me. You know, if you, I'm not looking for no engineered yeses. Show me what I'm missing. That some of y'all that's been supporting Donald Trump, come in and show me what I may have misunderstood. I would like to hear your views on this. I mean, why would he get mad at the Secret Service for not taking him to the Capitol in the middle of an insurrection? He was going to look powerful, remember? Huh? He'd drive up and the shooting going to be all around him. People being shot down and whatnot, and he's going to go up there and declare martial law, and we're going to have to quell this thing, and we will get back to the counting of the votes after we have an investigation to see what all of this was about. And when they get through, they'll be arresting Joe Biden, they'll be arresting Kamala Harris, they'll be arresting Nancy Pelosi if she lived. And everybody that everybody that he thought would have gave him problems, they would have been under arrest. You remember what they were saying about Ms. Clinton? Lock her up. Remember that? But they never said lock her up for what? Lock her up for what? Because we don't like her. Huh? You know, he says, I like this one, I don't like so-and-so. We may not like Pence so well if he don't do what we say. If he like you, then you get out of jail card free. I'll pardon. He even wanted to put pardon in there for all them people that, what's the name? Now, this is something that Congress need to do. They need to, it may be already on the books. Can a treasonous president, once he's found guilty of treason, doesn't that nullify any pardons that he gave anybody? It should. If it doesn't, then it's a joke. It makes the presidency into a joke. You know, he wanted to pardon himself, and they told him he couldn't do it. Huh? Why would he want to pardon himself? It's because he knows he's a crook. He knows he's a criminal. You don't need to pardon yourself if you ain't did nothing wrong. Huh? So you got a lot of house cleaning to do. But at least now you know what the motive was. All of that stuff about attacking the Secret Service man for not taking him on down there, that was the last part of the plan. Started trouble up there, then he roll up and get out. A couple of his people get shot down, and he he still decides to stay there and quell the violence and declares to the crowd, I'm declaring martial law, and then the Proud Boys and all of them come around him after they done lost a few men that they was sacrificing to, and grab some other people and accuse them of being Antifa, and that would have been that. And you and I are supposed to be so stupid we go for that. Huh? You see. But it's just really sad. It's really sad. I mean, the plans of mice and men, the best laid plans of mice in men. But I'm just telling you. Can't you see at the beginning of her testimony that she told you what the purpose of all of it was? It's so that Donald Trump could look powerful. He's going to look powerful. That's what Giuliani said. If he's going to look powerful, in other words, we staging this to make him look powerful. Do you understand? There you go. That's what it's about. I told you, listen. When you listen to people, that's the way. People say lots of stuff in front of children that they wouldn't say in front of grown people. You know that, right? That's why people talk. People talk in front of me all the time. Because I'm very easy to talk to. People, if anybody see me on the street, they know I'm easy to talk to. Ain't nobody hard to talk to. And if you talking to me, I'll listen. I'll listen to what you're saying. I've learned that you cannot learn anything if you don't first learn to listen. So, and as I listen to people, they tell on themselves. They say what's on their mind. You'd be surprised what people say to a child. They'll tell you anything. They'll tell a child things that they wouldn't dare say in front of an adult. They say all kinds of stuff in front of children. You see? Just like what he told her. I mean, she ain't but 25 years or 26 years old. What did he say? 25 years old. She's still I remember when I was 25, I ain't never been no dummy now. But I didn't know nearly the things that I know now. And so people, it's just like, when I told y'all that me and Brother Donald was talking one day and he let it slip. He about to call the captain a nigger. And but I was listening. I always listen when people talking to me. And I thought that was improper. Because they had said, you hear anybody talking slack about an official, you need to bring it to their attention. And so I brought it to their attention. And me and Brother Donald was up there. Later on, we laughed about it. I said, if I'd have known what I know now, I'd have told you you're right, he is a nigga. but anyway, he learned that he couldn't just say anything in front of me because I do listen when people talking. And I'm truthful. I don't tell you I'm with you if I'm not. That ain't me. I'm not a person who can fake like that. So, it's just like when the messenger told us something, he said, this I mean from my heart. He said, respect everybody. And everybody will respect you. He knew a lot of them people that he was talking to there, they didn't mean nothing they said. They just wrote that letter and didn't give it another thought after they wrote it. But that's why he told them, this I mean from my heart. We know it, dear apostle. We know it. Yeah, you know who that was. Right? Yeah. The loudest mouth in there. And then the first one to get up there and tell you that the messenger gave us a downer to counteract the upper gave us an upper to counteract the downer that we got from white people. In other words, suggesting to us that the messenger just made all of the teachings that he gave us. He just made it up. More of these people. But anyway, brother, it's just like that boy that wrote that Mark, what's his name, Mark something? No, what's that other fellow?
Edward X.
Edward X. He done came in here talking crazy before. Don't leave nothing there. I'm telling you, Edward, don't leave nothing else on our site that you didn't come in here and talk to me about. If you do it again, I'm going to show you. I'll give you some proof that I'm the Son of Man. I'm going to cast you into hell. Because you're very ungrateful and rebellious. Show me the good that you have been doing for people to qualify you to be a judge of me. Since I got plenty that I've been doing to show that I'm doing something other than running my mouth. What do you have to show us? You little ungrateful booger. Now, do you all understand what Trump's motive was now? For not wanting the see, they was going to blame it all on Antifa. You understand? And it fell apart on them, didn't it? Let my people in. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's what he said. Let them in. Take the mags away and let my people in. They're not here to harm me. Huh? Well, the mere fact that they brought guns, he knew they was there to harm somebody. And he told on himself, they ain't here for me. Not to harm me. But by him saying they wasn't here to harm, he could have chose some other words, but he couldn't because he didn't have time. So the truth slipped out. You understand? They're not here to harm me. So you do know they're here to harm somebody. You don't bring a gun with you if you ain't planning on doing some harm to somebody. Huh? Oh, it's something else that I thought I would read to you about insurrections too. And it goes along with what I was telling you about militias. See, when people lie, they have to be very careful about who's listening. You understand? Liars are generally they're always looking around, and they can't stand still either. Huh? You'll see them. You'll notice that your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion walking to and fro, seeking what? Now you preachers, do you know any preacher that just stand up to his podium and just speak, or do he start walking back and forth across the stage? See, that lie won't let him stand still. He got to keep on. Every teacher that I ever had in school, it just dawned upon me that all of the teachers that I ever had, when they were standing up teaching, they remained stable. They remained in one spot. Generally, they may get up to the board and they may write something on the board, but they don't keep walking back and forth in front of the class. They stand still and teach. You notice, You couldn't guide yourself by the stars if they was keeping constantly moving around. That star got to be in a position where you know to look for it, right? You notice, I hardly ever leave this podium when I'm teaching. Unless I went to go do something over there to the TV or whatnot. Otherwise, I'm standing right here. Go back and look at some of the videos. Watch the messenger. The messenger didn't, no, when he would come in, sometime he would go and greet the people on each side of the stage. But once he started teaching, that's where he stood. Why? Because the truth, it just demands that you be still. And as I said, be still and know that I am God. It's just simple. The reason you keep walking back and forth across the stage is you putting on a show. You ain't teaching nobody nothing. So, but anyway, when I heard what Giuliani said, I said, there's the smoking gun. He's going to look powerful. Just that statement alone, he's going to look powerful. Well, how is he going to look powerful? Because the plans we done made going to make him look powerful. Do you understand? And Mark Meadows was in on it, the whole thing. And all of them need to be high profile, arrested, and put on trial, high public trial, yes. And let the whole country and the whole world see what happens to people who try to overthrow your government and use the freedoms that they were given to undermine the very government that gave it to them. They even urinated on the Constitution, talking about the Constitution, the Second Amendment was so that the people could rise up and overthrow the government if they messed up. The vote is how you get rid of people in government that's messing up, not the bullet. Let me read to you here. Martial law in the United States refers to times in United States history in which in a region, state, city, or the whole United States was placed under the control of a military body. On a national level, both the U.S. President and the United States Congress, the U.S. Congress, have the power within certain constraints to impose martial law, since both can be in charge of the militia. Didn't say since both can be in charge of a militia. It says since both can be in charge of the militia. You notice the United States, the president cannot just on his own unilaterally declare war. The Congress has to agree with him. Do you understand? Okay. The militia is the military. You notice the term militia is M-I-L-I-T-I. Well, it could have just as easily been M-I-L-I-T-A-R-Y. Do you understand? Military. The militia is the military. Do you understand? Not these nuts walking around here, little gang calling themselves a militia. Congress ain't called them people out to do nothing. And the president don't need them. That's why he has an army, a navy, an air force, and a Marine Corps If he needs to, a reserve and National Guard. Do you understand? He don't need no little fellas walking around here with rocks in their pockets. Ain't never had no boot camp or nothing else. And if them boys that's in a militia wanted to really be in the militia, what they get out of the militia for? What did you leave the military for if you wanted to be part of a militia? A well-regulated militia is what the military is. And that is what the Constitution was talking or referring to. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state. You have purposely misrepresented the Constitution. And if you're not faithful in that which is least, you certainly will not be faithful in that which is greater. So from henceforth, everyone that misrepresents the Second Amendment of the Constitution, you doing it knowingly, and you deserve to be cast into hell. And so to hell with you. Amen, amen, and amen. Yes. You see, ain't none of them come in here and argue with me about it. You're just a little band of murderers. What regulations do you have? None. You go and break into the Capitol building of the government. A structure that's over 200 years old, you went in there and defiled it and spread feces on the walls. And that's what the militia does? That's the kind of stuff you about? No regulations, just go and do what you please. You ain't nothing but a beast in human form. And your actions bear witness to what you are. And as far as being scared of you, let me tell y'all something. Don't ever be afraid of someone who chooses the devil and bows to the devil rather than bowing to God. The devil himself is scared of God. And if you let him roar and go on at you and get you frightened enough to obey him, you know what he's going to say in the end? I just called you and you obeyed me. I didn't have no authority over you. Do you understand? Man come in here talking crazy to me when the book done told him that the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. If you didn't belong to me, I couldn't judge you. Jackass. So, all right. It's 11 o'clock. So I'm gonna let y'all go. Did we satisfy you with what the motive was and all of that stuff? Huh? Okay. You know why he did it now. You know Roger Stone, Mike Flynn, they was at the war room with him at the hotel that they in the room they call the war room at their hotel there. Huh? Sitting up there scheming and planning the overthrow of the United States government. Oh, and by the way, the question that I asked and got the answer to was, when is it under what grounds can martial law be declared? On what grounds can martial law be declared? And it says martial law is justified when civilian authority has ceased to function. Have you talked to the president? No, he doesn't want to be bothered right now. Why? He don't want to be bothered because stuff is happening that he wants to happen. Do you understand? They're not here to harm me. Is that what he said? All right. So brothers and sisters, and when I say brothers and sisters, I mean everybody that have truth in their heart and who wants to do that which is right in the sight of Almighty God. Pay attention to what goes on around you. Pay attention to what comes out of your mouth. And once you learn to start listening to yourself, you won't have no problem listening to other people. I'm telling you, it'll just be a habit. Instead of being quiet, waiting on your turn to say something, you'll be quiet so you can hear and make judgments about what somebody else is saying to you. Do you understand? How can you say you understood if you didn't hear? In order to claim you understood what a person said, you had to first hear what they said. You had when they were speaking, they had to have your attention. All right? You know, if they didn't have your undivided attention, you're not fit to make a judgment about them because you didn't hear what they said. It's like many people, I know it probably bothers them, but I've been listening to people for so long, and you can start saying something to me, and I done heard that so many times that I don't even have to finish hearing what you about to say because I know what you're finna say. And then I'll say, I'll answer it, and you say I'm cutting you off. But it's not so much as cutting you off. It's just that I've heard that argument so many times that I give you the answer to it. As it says, while they are yet speaking, I will answer. Another place says before they call. Let me see here. Let me see. I'm not making this up. In Isaiah chapter 65, and for you don't know what's in the scripture. That's why you always make mistakes about trying to call yourself judging me. It says in the what verse was that? Now this is where it is a promise that's being made that you're not going to be slaves no more. That me and my people, I'm here to free you. That tells you right there, I must be the one like Moses. Huh? Okay. Look at this place you in right now that I'm teaching you from. You built this. And you the one inhabiting it. Huh? So it's written. It says in the 21st verse. Well, let's start at the 20th verse. There shall be no more among you an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. That just go to show you that no matter how old we get, When Allah speaks to us and shows us new things, we will humble ourselves as a child and change again. Do you understand? We don't get too old to change. Then it says, and they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are, the days of my people and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. In other words, we ain't going to fatten up no frogs for snakes. He said, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will know what they're going to say before they finish. I didn't hear you. So what you call yourself condemning me for, you find out that the scripture told you that I would do that. It says, the wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock. You notice, people that been wolves in sheep's clothing, now they sitting around listening to me now, just like the lambs is. I didn't hear you. All of them can't do nothing but listen. You don't want me to stop now, but I'm finna quit because it's late. But I reckon I will. Let's see here. Liberating strife, who more than sell their country love and mercy more than life. I'm talking about America. America, may God your gold refine, and may all your success be in righteousness, and every gain divine. In school we used to sing it. Oh, beautiful for spacious sky, for amber waves of grain, whose purple mountains, they stand just like great majesty above the fruited plain. I'm talking about America, Allah bless America, and shed your grace on them with me, and crown the good in one great brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Allah bless America, and let your grace be just to crown the good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. And I thank Allah from sea to shining sea. Yeah, brother. You know, the best is yet to come for us. The world is at its end because a new one is here to replace it. Allah don't take something away just to put something lesser or just the same old thing coming back. No, when he takes something away, it's because he's going to give you something better. It's just like our greetings. You know what the Prophet Muhammad, he taught us. He said, if you are greeted with a greeting, return one equal or one better. You know why he said it like that? Because there is no better greeting than you can give somebody than to wish them Allah's peace. But if somebody give you a greeting of corrupt greeting or something that is not that, then don't you return what they say to you. You give them the better greeting. You understand? There you go. You see, so there is no better greeting than you can give someone than to wish them God's peace. So we start conversations with it, and we end our conversations with it. Because we don't, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he was asked what does he hate the most, he said a peace breaker. So the whole time that we are with you, we never want to break your peace. So we open our meeting, our class, with the greeting words of peace, and we are now closing it. And we will close with that. As the messenger used to wish us this. So I adopted it, and I continue to wish it to you. May Allah bless us and keep us safe, and grant to us all who believe in His word a peaceful and pleasant night's rest and sleep, and a happy, peaceful, and pleasant morning's rise. May Allah's Salam Alaikum.